What's going on, guys? Nolan from Black Sheep Auto Works here, and really quickly I was going to get to the differences between pre-ignition and detonation because there's a lot of scattered information out there. So pre-ignition is a spark event that happens before the piston comes up on TDC, and knock is a spontaneous combustion process that happens after TDC. So what causes most of your pre-ignition scenarios? So things like sharp edges inside the combustion chamber, carbon buildup, the wrong heat range chosen for your spark plugs. All these things act as basically like a glow plug when it comes to igniting the fuel before the piston actually comes up to top dead center. So basically what will happen is a piston will go down on the intake stroke, it'll take in fuel and air, and as it's coming up, before the spark plug can actually ignite, there is some kind of carbon deposit or the wrong heat range on the spark plug or anything like that that retains heat that is going to make that fuel and air ignite before the spark plug actually ignites it. So this is by far the most dangerous of the two, because what's going to happen is as that piston's actually coming up on the compression stroke before the correct spark event happens at the correct time, it's going to pre-ignite the mixture. And what that does is it basically sends an erratic explosion inside of the cylinder, because it's not a controlled flame front anymore. It's just an erratic, spontaneous combustion. So how does it cause so much damage? Well, basically it is the pressure spike. The pressure spike felt inside the cylinder, the explosion that happens causes a resonance inside of the cylinder that basically will strip away a thin layer of gases that protect the top of the piston from the combustion process. So the most damaging part is that when this explosion happens or the spontaneous combustion happens, the piston's on its way up and it's trying to force it down. So what's going to happen with this? You're going to see bent rods, you're going to see melted pistons, you're going to see broken ringlands, you're going to see a lot of that heavy damage. Now, the bad thing about pre-ignition is that you will never hear it. You will never hear pre-ignition. The only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to burn a hole through your piston, you're going to bend a rod, and then you're going to basically physically ruin your engine. Okay, and there is no warning, it just happens. Now we go on to knock or detonation. Now this occurs after the spark event. So piston goes down, it sucks in its fuel and air mixture, it comes back up, spark plug ignites, and then after that, as the piston starts to come down, there's going to be pockets of fuel and air that are still suspended inside of the cylinder, and things like heat as well. I mean, it can be high boost pressure, it can be advanced of ignition timing, it can be anything like that, basically causing detonation. So the thing with detonation is that you will get warning signs of detonation if your exhaust system is quiet enough. But if you have a really loud car, again, you're probably not going to hear this. It sounds like it's basically a rattle. You can hear it. It's a rattle. So as the piston's coming down, the flame front is supposed to be smooth. It's supposed to be slow. It's supposed to be controlled. When it comes to detonation, the detonation totally screws up that whole process. So in most engines, and almost any engine that I can think of other than, even with diesels, the flame front will usually on average travel 5 to 10 meters per second. Okay, that's a slow, controlled, smooth flame front. Now when it comes to detonation, some of these pressure spikes inside of the cylinder at the time can reach up to 1,000 meters per second. Now when this happens, same thing occurs. I mean, there's heat building up inside the cylinder. Again, it could be the wrong spark plugs you have. It could be like running too hot of a plug that's just retaining so much heat that it turns into an actual glow plug. It could be really excessive high intake temperatures. If you're not running an intercooler, you're running too much boost again. Basically, guys, anything that's going to cause an excessive amount of heat inside the cylinder, even a failing cooling system. You start to run an engine at 230, 245 degrees, I mean, your intake temps are going to be massive because the engine is already heat soaked. So any of this is going to cause that fuel, that unburnt fuel that's still waiting for that smooth controlled burn. You get one speck of knock or detonation or spontaneous combustion, and basically it's going to ignite and it's going to be erratic. So your flame front is coming down, it's smooth, it's spreading, it's driving the piston down in a controlled motion. Now with knock, you have one or two or three different spontaneous combustion explosions because it's not controlled anymore. It's an explosion. It's like a stick of dynamite. So once that goes, I mean, you throw everything off. The whole process is thrown off. You start getting all this crazy shock waves inside the cylinder, and that's what you're hearing. You're actually hearing a knock, like you're hitting the engine block with a hammer, and that's that rattle that you hear from pre-ignition. That's actually vibration coming from the engine block, and that's literally what's going on. So if you do have detonation, what are you going to see? The best way to check for detonation, to see if your engine is knocking, is to pull spark plugs and check them. And usually what you're going to find, if you are suspicious of knock, you're going to find that on the tip of that spark plug, you're going to have specks, peppered aluminum on those spark plugs. Why? Because at any time you cause this high pressure spikes, high heat scenarios inside of the cylinder that is not controlled, there's a thin layer, boundary of gases that is produced naturally from the combustion process that protect the metal on top of the piston, or protect the piston in general. So remember, guys, aluminum will melt at around 1200 degrees. If you're running high load, high horsepower, and you're really getting on it, your exhaust temperatures are going to get that high. I mean, look at diesels. Diesels can run 1400, 1500 degrees, and that's on something that's pretty stock. So if you can only imagine, if you got a high horsepower engine and you're, running it hot and you're getting on it, and you start to have knock, well, that's going to happen. So how do you prevent knock from happening? First of all, octane. Octane is the resistance to knock. Basically, the higher the octane number, it means that fuel is resistant to spontaneous combustion. It takes a higher temperature to light that fuel off. Okay, if you run low octane, that means it's going to take a lower temperature for that fuel to spontaneously combust. So octane being basically the number one way to prevent knock. Okay, ignition timing, back it off. If you cannot monitor knock with your OEM knock sensors, if you don't have a standalone knock detection system from either Plex or Knock Block or Tuner Nerd or any of those that can measure knock for you, then don't be adjusting timing, because unless you want to sit there and risk it and stop and check plugs, but you can't be doing that because you're running the engine, it's hot, you got to pull plugs out. I mean, it's a pain in the ass. So like I said, octane being the number one thing. Timing, make sure to do some research and know what specifically that engine is supposed to be running at timing wise. Advanced, high load. Another thing you can do is definitely run a rich mixture. So if you're running normally aspirated engine, 0.80, 0.85 lambda. If you're running a turbo engine, I mean, when you're first checking things, you want to be down 0.75, 0.8 lambda in those regions, just, and I'm talking like 11.5, 11, just to be on the safe side until you know what's actually going on. You want to run a good rich mixture. You want to back timing off and gradually increase and decrease these things as you're trying to make power. Those are the ways that you're going to prevent this stuff from happening. So again, pre-ignition being the most dangerous, because there's no warning signs, it just happens. That's it. Once it happens, pretty much over.